Chapter 18. Friday morning dawns, and the school halls are filled with excited chatter about the upcoming Evening of Enchantment dance. Who's wearing what? Who's going with whom? It is a tedious business. Judging by their vapid jabber, my classmates have no awareness of the bigger issue at hand. That I have still made no headway in ridding myself of the deluge of dead animals following me around. With so many supernatural forces conspiring against me, it is a small miracle that I am not more discouraged. But, as I sign up for my research report slot, I am not frowning the frown of the discouraged. Instead, I'm smiling the smile of the clever and self-assured, because I have come up with a brilliant strategy for tackling my research report. It is called the Take the Last Presentation Slot strategy, which is a snazzy name for a strategy if I do say so myself. By picking the last possible presentation slot on the sheet, I have given myself until next Friday to present my report. A full week. This gives me more time than anybody else. Some people would call this procrastination. Other people would call this laziness. I call this basic common sense. Does that make me a genius among mere mortals? A higher life form? A king among men? Who am I to say? History will judge. I just wish my mom and dad could see all this common sense in action. They would beg me to own a chocolate lab. Sammy Mulpepper has signed up for the first presentation slot, which means she has to present first thing next week. It is one more example of how book smarts cannot compete with street smarts in the real world. Of course, my leisure time is much more in demand than hers. She doesn't have 3 dead animals hounding her, 4 if you count the shark. I'm not sure I do. He's not a sparkling conversationalist and mostly just continues to gnaw on the gorilla's butt. As we enter the classroom, Miss Yardley reminds us that there's still time to sign up for the Evening of Enchantment Decorating Committee. No thank you. I have had enough glitter to last 2 lifetimes. "Where were you last night?" I asked Darvish as we take our seats. "I called you." "At home," he says. "My phone died." "Well, thanks to you, I had a dreadful night." I fill him in on the interruption of my shower, the appearance of the gorilla, and our explosionless exploits at the zoo. "Oh my gosh, a gorilla," he says, reaching into his backpack. "Did you see this morning's newspaper?" "Of course not," I respond. "It is always filled with death and destruction, which depresses me. Plus, the news is almost never about me." "This story is," he says, passing the paper to me. "Kind of." I grab the paper. The headline reads, "Evening Tragedy at Middling Zoo." I yawn. They don't need to tell me about tragedy. I barely got any beauty sleep because Drumstick, Tater Tot, the gorilla, and the shark are taking up so much room in my bed there's barely any space left for me. Not only am I the only one who can see or hear them, I seem to be the only one who's affected by the sheer square footage they take up. If that's not a tragedy, I don't know what is. At least I have something to share for current events. I take the newspaper and saunter to the front. Miss Yardley looks skeptical. "Rex, you have a current event to read?" "You betcha," I answer, prepared to dispense some extra credit. "Is it appropriate?" she asks. "It's not appropriate, is it?" She hesitates, looking unsure. I take advantage of her slow reflexes and clear my throat. Raising my rich tenor tones to the rafters, I read the article aloud to the class. "Evening Tragedy at Middling Zoo. It was discovered early last evening that an adult mountain gorilla had escaped from its enclosure at the Middling Zoo. The remains of the gorilla were found shortly after in the shark tank of the zoo's oceanarium enclosure, along with a dead bull shark. We do not suspect foul play," said zoo consultant Hawtrey Vane. "It is likely that the gorilla's enclosure lock failed. Upon exploring the grounds, it wandered into the shark tank, where an epic shark-gorilla battle ensued. The gorilla's cause of death is undetermined, but drowning is suspected. The shark's cause of death appears to be the result of the gorilla encounter." "This is the problem with these old-fashioned cages," said Vane. "Locks fail, bars rust. My organization is working with the zoo to create newer, safer enclosures." Ms. Vane's organization is Cageless Enclosure Solutions, which works with animal parks and sanctuaries to create wide-open, cage-free animal enclosures. The Middling Zoo has not yet decided to move forward with the project, but if they do, Ms. Vane and her company will undertake a massive renovation of all zoo enclosures. Perhaps the recent tragic events will spur the zoo to action, but not everyone agrees with the solution. "This type of thing is to be expected when you cage animals," said Talon Smithfield, president of a local organization called PUPE, or People United to Protect Animals Everywhere. "The answer isn't better cages. The answer is that these are rare and majestic beasts and should be returned to the wild where they belong. In the meantime, measures are being taken to ensure the safety of the animals and the public. All enclosure locks are being examined for defects," said Vane. "We do not expect any future problems." This marks the second recent tragedy at the zoo, following this week's fire that killed a Sumatran rhinoceros. "Very good," says Mrs. Yardley, looking pleasantly surprised. "Very appropriate." But was it very good? Was it appropriate? Because I look up from the article and I see Holly Kreskin, giggling. Chapter 19. "I brought that article in for current events," says Darvish, opening his lunch sack. "Me!" As often happens, Darvish is fixating on the wrong thing. "Then that worked out perfectly," I say. "For myself to read. That was my extra credit you stole." My poor chum. He should know as well as anybody. You cannot steal extra credit. Extra credit's in the public domain. It's like air, clean tap water, and the pursuit of happiness. It belongs to everybody. It floats in the breeze, available for public consumption by anyone with the chutzpah to take advantage of it. "Pay attention, man," I remind him. "Someone is murdering animals." "But the article said that no foul play is suspected." "Don't be a rube your whole life, Darvish. That's subterfuge, trickery, propaganda." I take a bite of my grilled cheese sandwich for emphasis. Someone is opening cages. Someone is setting fires. Tater Tot and Sea Monkey said so themselves. Sea Monkey? It just came to me, I say. Because he fell into the oceanarium tank and has a shark on his butt. That's funny. Thank you. Where are they anyway, he asks. Are they here? No, we had a late and fruitless night, thanks to you. They stayed home to rest. How can ghosts get tired, he asks. Focus! I sputter impatiently. Somebody is deliberately picking them off. And who would want to kill a gorilla and a rhino? The guard is too pudgy. Darvish shrugs. I slap my hand over my face. This kid is of no use to me. I'm seriously considering promoting Drumstick to role of sidekick and best friend. I turn back to Darvish. A notorious hater of animals, that's who, namely, Holly Kreskin. What? He cries. That's crazy. A kid is not breaking into the zoo and killing animals. I have lost all patience with Darvish. Do you know any torture techniques? Thumbscrews, stretching on the racks, those type of skills? No, he says. You'll have to learn. We may need them. Come on. I stand up and head across the cafeteria. The time has come for more chutzpah. Where are we going? He calls, chasing after me. To interrogate Holly Kreskin. Chapter 20. We sit down across from the culprit. At this close range, I can see the malevolence burning within her. The animal-hating, rhino-birding, gorilla-drowning malevolence. Hi, Darvish. Hi, Rex, she says, surprised at our presence. That's the thing about the guilty. They always look surprised. Hey, are you guys going to the evening of enchantment dance next week? I scoff at the thought. Do not be ludicrous. That's too bad, she chirps. It's going to be so fun. I have no time for social niceties. Your attempts to divert my attention are pointless, Holly Kreskin. We do not want to talk about dances. Oh, she says. Okay, what do you want? Your confession, I say. Why'd you do it? Do what? Don't play coy with me, sister. I have known you were a hater of animals for a long time, but I never thought you would stoop this low. What are you talking about? She asks, pushing her tray to the side. I love animals. Don't give me that. I am the only one at this table who has a well-documented love of animals. I've wanted a dog for forever. It's practically all he ever talks about, Darvish supplies helpfully. Exactly, I nod. Yet every time I bring it up with you, you wrinkle your nose in a distasteful fashion. And do you know why? Yes, she says. I level an accusing finger at her. Because you hate animals. No, says Holly Kreskin, it's because I don't like dogs. What? Cats rule, dogs drool, and dogs are the only animals you ever talk about. It's true, Rex, says Darvish. You're kind of obsessed. Chocolate lab this, chocolate lab that. Don't you dare take the name of that majestic creature in vain. I turn back to Holly Kreskin. So, you haven't bur about the demise of any zoo animals recently? What? She cries. No, I love animals. I love unicorns and pegasuses and rainbows and unicorns. I interrupt her. Rainbows are not animals. And all that other stuff is not real, chimes in Darvish. I love real animals too. I love kitties and ponies and kitties. How do you feel about gorillas, I ask? Or rhinos? I love all animals except dogs, she claims. Dang, she's good. I'm even a member of People United to Protect Animals Everywhere. She lifts up her purse, which has a large pupae button proudly displayed. I stand up on the lunch table to make myself appear bigger. I am a St. Bernard in a cafeteria full of teacup poodles. I can tell the technique is working because Holly Kreskin looks terrified of me, as she should. If this cockamamie story is true, I shout, and that's a big if, then why did you giggle at the end of my current event today? My current event, interjects Darvish. The kid cannot let something go. Let's stay on topic, I tell him. I turn back to Holly Kreskin. It wasn't exactly a funny article. More horribly tragic than funny. Why the giggle? Holly Kreskin rolls her eyes and looks embarrassed. Oh, that. I am prepared to use Holly Kreskin's spork as a thumbscrew, but I sense a confession forthcoming. Perhaps torture will not be needed after all. Because I know Talon Smithfield, she says. The guy you mentioned in the article, he's the president of People United to Protect Animals Everywhere. He's very tall and so passionate about the rights of animals. He's in high school. Isn't that the guy who hangs out near Pet Planet begging for money? I asked Darvish. Pupae, he asks. Oh yeah, maybe. He wanted to charge us $59.99 to join his group? I don't remember. I was distracted by the firehouse tacos and you getting cursed. I turned back to Holly Kreskin. You gave him $59.99 to join that group, I asked. What would possess you? She laughs. No, silly. My parents paid for it. They like animals too. In fact, my dad is the president. I cut her off. So what if you know Talon Smithfield? Why would that make you giggle? I'm confused. It's a sensation I'm experiencing a lot lately. She giggles again. Because she likes him, says Darvish. At this, Holly Kreskin dissolves afresh into peals of laughter that will not stop. She is now useless to me as a suspect. I step off the table and walk away, leaving her to a giggle fit. Unknowingly, she has cleared herself of all suspicion. Because murderers don't giggle. They laugh maniacally. Everybody knows this.